Hey guys, today's video is going to be about anxiety, and I've been really wanting to do this video for a couple of months now, but things have just been getting in the way. And the Lord has been, I really wanted to do this for a couple of months now because the Lord has been really pressing this on my heart. And I just feel like every time I try to do it, something comes up, somebody wants me to do something. That's just even more confirmation that I need to get this video out here to you guys, because it is something, especially right now, that is running rampant, especially in the youth, especially in, the younger generation, and then also in a lot of adults too. Something that's running rampant that everyone's struggling with. And the reason why therapy is not working, the reason why just like plain old meditation isn't working, and the reason why so many things, books, all these things aren't working is because it's not so much something physical that's going on, but it's something spiritual. And I love taking a look at the spiritual side of things, because it really helps you see what's going on internally that's causing it. Because I'm a firm believer that if we take care of what's going on internally, then we can prevent a lot of things externally from happening. And when I say internal, obviously I don't mean physical insides, I don't mean like physical things, I mean like mentally, what's going on with your spirit, man. And that's what I really love to help people with. And I would almost go as far to say that it's my zone of genius. And I've been really blessed to see through people, see what they're struggling with, and know how to get to the root of it to help them fix it. So like I was saying, this video has been a struggle. Me trying to get this message out here to you guys has been a real struggle, and I really feel like it's the enemy trying to fight me on this, because he knows that it's going to set a lot of you free, which is why I'm excited to get this to you today. Now, there may be, I'm going to try my hardest to get everything that's in my head out of my head to you, and I'm going to try to explain it in a way where it's easy to understand. Also, like I said, it's been a struggle trying to get this out to you. Actually, I want you to understand it so much so to the point where I'm gonna be writing a lot of things on this whiteboard behind me. And a little backstory on this, it was actually an entire like cardboard whiteboard, but it broke in the middle of me trying to put it up. Again, I feel like that's the enemy not wanting me to get this out to you guys, but I'm just gonna press through and get it out to you anyway. So I hope that you guys can see this here, because I'm going to be writing some things on here for you guys to help you understand it better. And if there's any questions or you just can't understand anything, you can totally feel free to put it in the comments, and I will elaborate more on it there for you. So first thing, guys, I want you to understand that you can only exist. Let me grab a really great marker. You can only exist in two realities. Now, I want to give a disclaimer that this is going to be heavily touching on a lot of things that go on in the spirit realm, and it's going to be, in this video, I'm going to be talking a lot about God, I'm going to be talking a lot about the enemy, and if you are atheist, or that's just not your thing, I really highly suggest and encourage you to stick around, because this is going to set you free, and it's going to help you a lot. Also, because I've been like, really wanted to get this message out to you guys a long time ago, months ago, when God gave me this revelation. He dropped it in me almost like a download. I wrote it down in my journal. I'm going to be looking here for some references so that way I'm not forgetting everything, because it's easy for me to write it down once I'm in the moment and it's just flowing through me and I put it on paper. But when I get up here and I try to explain it to you guys, I may leave out some important details that I know you need to know. So I'm going to be looking at my notebook just to make sure I don't forget everything. So yeah, and I'm also going to take my time through this, because I know sometimes I can tend to talk really fast. So again, I want you guys to know that you only exist in two realities, and I'm going to put a little graphic here to help you understand that. So you may not see it right now, but I'm going to try to see what I mean by this not wanting to stick with me. So I'm going to be drawing on this really lightly so it doesn't mess up. So this is, imagine this being the timeline of your life. Hopefully you can see that. So this is the timeline of your life, right? This is you right here, okay? You're this line in the middle. Now, even though, hopefully you can see that, okay? Even though this is you, right? You can only mentally, like, you're physically here, this is where your body is physically, But in your mind, you can only exist in two places, and that could be here or here. Now, God and Satan knows that. So I want to make sure that this is right. You're seeing this right. So it may be backwards to you because you are on camera, and I think the camera may flip a little bit. But, and I hope that this looks okay. You can see this. So this is the past. So let me write this again. So this is, we're going to say this is the future. So imagine this is time. This is 1, 2, 3. I don't like the way that looks. Let me fix that. Please be patient with me, guys, because I want to make sure that you're getting this. So, there we go. Okay. So this is 1. This is 2. This is 3. This is 4. This is 5, and this is 6, and I guess we'll do 7 because I really don't like the number 6. Okay, so this is the future. This is where you are. You are at 0, and this is the past. So we're gonna do -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and -7. I'm really bad with writing, guys, so bear with me. Okay, so hopefully that you can understand that and that makes sense to you. I really want to put this out on a background, how it's playing out in my head and how I seen it and how God downloaded it in me. So you are at 0, right? Like you're always, this is present. This is present tense. I'm going to make this, so this is the present where you are. And I'm going to explain why you don't really exist in the present, but you mentally exist in either or. This is the past. And this is the future. Okay, hopefully you guys can read that. It's showing backwards, but I hope you guys can still understand that. So, this is the present. This is where it's happening instantaneously. I hope I said that right. It's happening instantaneously, which is why you don't really ever exist there, because you're always supposed to be moving forward into the future. Now, this is the past, which is why it's a negative, because it's dead. It already happened. So how this timeline works, I want you guys to realize that God and Satan knows how this works. So I want to help you understand it so you can set yourself free. So this is the past, meaning it already happened. You cannot go back here. Like, it's literally impossible for you to physically move your body back here. So this is death. It's physically impossible for you to move your body back here. This is life. Okay? This is where God is, because he's life, the way, and this is where we'll just say Satan, okay, is. All right, so in the future means this is where God is, this is where life is. The past, this is where death is, and this is where Satan is. This is where he lives. Which is why, for an example, if you go to see like psychics or mediums, they can only really explain to you what they predict will happen in your future based off your past. They can't really reach into your future and see what's going to happen in your future, but they can see your past because it's dead. It already happened. They can go back into your past and see what happened in your past and kind of predict what's going to happen in your future. Which is why if you go to a lot of psychics, they may speak to ancestors or like dead relatives or something like that. By the way, those are spirits operating illegally, but they may speak to like dead relatives or ancestors or something like that, and they'll say, oh, like I'm hearing from your ancestors and they're saying this X, Y, and Z, and it's because your ancestors are dead. So they're here with death and they're in the past. So this is death, they're in the past. So they go back to kind of predict what's going to happen in your future. Okay, so what essentially, now that you understand this timeline here, you can't really exist here. You're at 0. From this point where you're at 0, this is where you're at all the time physically. You can either go to the future or you can go to the past. Now, Satan knows this again, like I was saying, and this is where anxiety comes into play. And I want to break down, listen really closely, and I want to break this down to you so that you understand. Anxiety comes into play here because this is where Satan lives, and he keeps you trapped here in the past. This is where he wants you to be. Now, how anxiety actually starts to happen, because there are people who meditate on the past. There are people who like to remember relatives and things like that. Like, let's just say if you had a family member that died and you want to mourn them, like there's a time for that. You can definitely do that. You can definitely think back on the past and the good times that you guys had and mourn that. And that's perfectly normal. Like God says that, I think it's in the book of Ecclesiastes, that there's a time for that. There's a time for mourning. There's a time for death. There's a time for life. There's a time for that. Now, that's a difference, like mourning on a dead relative for a short period of time, or like reminiscing on like a time that you had a pet, or that a time that you had a car, or your favorite pair of shoes or something like that. That's totally fine. There's a difference between that, doing that for a moment in time, and living here. Okay, there's a difference between doing that and living here. Now, that's what Satan wants you to do. He wants you to live here. He wants you to be here mentally. So once he's got you here mentally, this is why it's in a timeline. He likes to time warp you, if you will. He likes to literally take the past and kind of wrap you up in it like a ball, if that makes sense. I wish I could write it on here, but I feel like that will come off, that whole thing will come off the wall. He likes to time warp you in the past. So really what he wants you to do is he wants to find some kind of like something that happened in the past and take that event and trap you there. So he wants to trap you on this side of the timeline, so that way you're always living in the past. You're always living in death, which is why you see a lot of times people who having trouble with anxiety, trouble with depression, they commit suicide. So I'm gonna write suicide here. Hopefully you guys can see that, it's so small. So I'm gonna write suicide there. They commit suicide, and it's because they are literally on the side of death. They're literally trapped here. And this is where Satan wants them to be. He wants them to commit suicide because, you know, it is said, and I'm not really sure, I'm going to be honest and say that I'm not really sure, but it is said that if you commit suicide, it's an unforgivable sin. And it's because once you give your life over to the Lord, it's not yours to take. And once you take it, it's an act of selfishness, and it's considered an unforgivable sin. And this is where Satan ultimately wants you to take your own life. So Satan is over here with death, and over here with suicide. It's a loop. So he wants to time warp you there and trap you there. Now let's move over to the side of life, future, and God. Now, what you ultimately want to do is be here. You want to live here in the future, because that's where God is, and that's what's possible. These are things that haven't necessarily happened yet, so anything is possible. Anything is possible. These are things that already happened, just establishing a baseline of information here. These are things that already happened. These are events that already happened. You can't change it. It already happened. Satan, again, wants you to stay stuck on these things, thinking about what you could have done, what could have went differently, reminiscing on things like, maybe let's just say if you had a lot of money in the past and you blew it all, you spent it all, and now you're stuck here thinking about what you could have did differently with that money. You could have invested it, or you could be so much further along now. The reality of the matter is that you can't do anything because it's already spent. The event already happened. But Satan wants to keep your thoughts there. He wants to keep your mind living here in the past, because once you're living here, you're literally mentally there. So you can't go forward. Once you're here, you can't cross over to the side of life. Let me know in the comments, guys, if that makes sense. So how to actually get out of anxiety. If you're going into an anxiety attack, tell yourself that this already happened. It's nothing that you can do to change it. This is death, literally. It already happened. These events, these moments in time, it already happened. It's literally in the past. What you want to do is pull yourself mentally to the future, to the things that haven't happened yet, and create possibilities for yourself there. And if you're a Christian, which I hope you are if you're watching this video and you believe in God, instead of trying to create possibilities that happen there, lean into where God is pulling you, because this is where he is. He's not gonna, God can go back here to the past, and he can go back here, but that's not, he would be violating his own law, because he tells us that he's the way, the truth, and the life. I'm gonna write that. Way plus truth. My writing is terrible, guys. Plus life. Even though he can go back here, he won't, because he'd be violating his own law and what he told us, and he's not a liar. So he's here, and he's waiting for you to come follow him here. If you start going backwards, you're literally following Satan. You're literally following the enemy. So when you start to feel yourself getting anxiety, and you start to feel yourself reminiscing on the past, remind yourself that these events already happened and they cannot be changed no matter how hard you try. But what can be changed is the future, because this hasn't happened yet. This is endless possibility. These moments in time have not happened yet. You would only be able to experience the things that have happened yet if you start to focus on the future. Now, also, I want to highlight to you guys that this is also negative. So, negative, I hope I spelled that right. Negative doesn't just mean negative numbers and negative time. It means negative events. These are positive. Hopefully you guys can still see me there. Great, the time's still going. Okay. So these are positive, and positive doesn't just mean positive numbers, positive events in time, positive numbers and positive time. It means positive events. Okay. Now, this is positive events because there's an endless possibility of positive things that are waiting to happen for you on this side. These are negative events because it already happened, it's in the past. So these events, you literally cannot go back and change. I hope that I'm making sense here, guys, because how the thoughts are forming in my head, I really hope that it's relaying across to you that way. Now, also, in the future, this is where your destiny is. So anything that's supposed to happen for you in the future, it cannot happen here. It's impossible to happen back here in the past. Your destiny and the positive things that are going to happen is here in the future, guys. Now, a lot of people also get stuck in the past because they think, well, the past shapes the future. And that's true to a certain extent. But really, once you're walking in a relationship with God, he wipes all of that clean. He wipes this clean. So the future shapes the future. The future is life. Life is God. Life is the truth and the way. He shapes the future. So ultimately, once you start to live in this all the time, the past is irrelevant. So when Satan tries to remind you, remember those times that you were in drugs, or remember those times that you were addicted to alcohol, or remember those times that you were a prostitute, or remember those times that you were really, really mean to your wife, or remember those times that you used to do this, that, and the other. This is where he wants to keep you. God says all of this is irrelevant. All of this is God. He crucified death to the cross, right? These negative events, they cannot be changed, and because of that, God erased it. He started you off at a clean slate. So you want to live here. Again, let me know in the comments if that makes sense. This is where your destiny is. Now, I feel like there's more that I wanted to say to you guys. I'm going to look at my notes because I want to make sure that you guys are getting this so you're able to set yourself free. Okay. Give me a quick second. One second, guys. Okay, so I actually think that was it. And if anything comes up, I will make a part 2 to this because I really want to help you guys break free from this. I know that a lot of people may think that anxiety is more, and it's all this stuff that is so much more than just a simple timeline, and that's not true, because I want you guys to sit with yourself and think about all the times that you were depressed, all the times that you were having an anxiety attack. And I personally know, because I experienced an anxiety attack before, and many different times in the past. I want you guys to think about those times and pinpoint the exact thing that you were anxious about. And for a lot of you, it's many different things combined in your mind, to the point where you can't actually, it's really hard to sit and pinpoint one specific thing. But if it's multiple different things for you, go through each individual thing with a fine-tooth comb and ask yourself, even if it takes writing it down on a piece of paper, is this something that already happened in the past? Is it something that I can physically go back in time and change? Did it happen in the past? Yes. Can I change it? No. Okay, well, what can I do in the future? That immediately pulls you into the future and gets your mind starting to think about what you can do in the future to change it. So that will almost instantly pull you out of anxiety, because instead of like being in that time warped cycle, just thinking about the past and thinking about what you could have changed in the past, you're now thinking about the future and what you're going to be doing next in the future. It immediately jerks you out of the past and puts you into action mode, and it takes you from here to here in God's speed. So if you are going through an anxiety attack, if you're watching this video right now, if God somehow led you to this video and you're having an anxiety attack, I want you to think about, what is it that's giving you anxiety? Is it that you have midterms? Is it that you have finals? Is it that you are having a financial crisis? For an example, if you are having a financial crisis to where you cannot pay your bills or something, right? Ask yourself, me not having money to pay my bills, is that something that already happened? Is that something that happened in the past? And then if you really start to think about it, you're like, all of the things that I could have done to change the fact that I don't have money right now, those events, those moments and times have already passed me. Otherwise, I would have the money right now. Otherwise, if I had taken advantage of those moments in time to have the money to pay my bills, I would have it right now, okay? So you can't go back and change that. You're here where you are right now. What can you do in the future to make things better? And then you immediately start thinking, okay, I can ask my Aunt Susie for $500, or I can go apply for a loan, or I can go get this second job. You'll immediately start to think on what you can do in the future, so that you're never in the situation again, and it jolts you out of the past and out of your anxiety into thinking mode. Because when you're having an anxiety attack, ultimately your mind shuts down. It shuts down and you just start to freak out. This immediately takes you out of that into action mode. Or let's think of an example with, if you're having midterms, if you're having like finals or something, and you're at a point where you're like, oh my God, like I haven't studied, I'm probably gonna fail this test, I'm probably gonna fail. Then start to think about all the things that happened in the past that could have possibly made you pass the test. Did that time pass already? Did it happen in the past? Yes. Okay. Could you change all the time you had? Could you go back in time literally, and like, could you go back here to the past and literally change the moments where you're watching TV into moments where you're actually studying? It's impossible. You can't happen. It's dead. It already happened. You can't change it. But what you can do is go here to the future, to the land of endless possibilities, and decide what your next steps are going to be. And it could be, okay, I'm going to spend the next 20 minutes studying the best that I can, or I'm going to ask my teacher if I can get more time to study, or I'm going to, whatever idea that comes to mind. But you're getting yourself into a place where you're thinking healthy thoughts, which are things that you can actually do, which are things that you can actually change in the land of endless possibilities. And you're not being stuck here to think with things that you can't change, right? And so being stuck here, it just keeps feeding into that loop of anxiety and depression, because nothing you ever do here in this land of past is going to result in a positive outcome, because it is death, it is negative events, and it is the past. So start getting yourself in the mindset of thinking, it's in the past, I can't do anything, I can't change it. What can I do in the future to change the way I feel right now? Cool. So I hope this helped you guys. I feel I feel in my soul that it did help a lot of you. And if there are any questions, drop it in the comments. I know for a fact that I could have broken this down to you a lot easier for you to understand, but this is just how it was playing out in my mind, and I just had to get it out there for you guys. So let me know in the comments if this helped you. Let me know if you were having an anxiety attack when you came across this video and if it was able to pull you out of it. But yeah, I love you guys. I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos, whatever God downloads into me, and I will talk with you guys later.